Concision is being short and clear with the language that you choose to use. And we hope that you'll develop a sense and a style of concise writing throughout your degree here in Sciences at Glasgow. You never persuade anyone that you're correct in your interpretation of something by talking long and hard at them. You can persuade them by showing them simply how what you believe to be true is undoubtedly true based on the facts that you have presented. And so I'm going to take you through 3 things that you can check when you're finished writing, when you're doing your proofreading, to see if your conciseness or your concision is up to scratch. Waffling is what we call it when you use more words than you need to make your point, or when you use too many points that go beyond the scope of the task that you've been set. So take this sentence as an example. This landmark experiment carried out by Watson and Crick, who actually got fame for lab work that was in reality carried out mostly by Rosalind Franklin, showed by means of X-ray diffraction techniques that the physical structure of DNA was, as they had long suspected and sought to prove, a double helix. A discovery that would win Watson and Crick, but not Franklin, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine 9 years after their paper was published. It's entirely one sentence. It's grammatically complete and perfect, so there's nothing that we could mark someone down for on the language they'd used. But the style is far too wordy to be considered concise. Think about breaking it down into something like this. Watson and Crick hypothesized that DNA was a double helix. They investigated using X-ray diffraction techniques, actually carried out mainly by Rosalind Franklin. The findings proved their hypothesis. Much shorter sentences, far fewer words overall, but essentially the same meaning conveyed. And we don't have all of the extra information, such as the Nobel Prize, because in this hypothetical scenario, that wasn't relevant for the question that was set to this student. If you do find that you've ended up with a huge, great big long rambling sentence, when you're proofreading, take it apart. A sentence in English needs a few basic parts. We could go into lots of grammatical detail here, but I won't. I'll just say instead that you need an actor, someone or something that does a job. You need the act as well, so the action, the verb that they carried out. And then sometimes you'll also need to say who or what the verb was done to, or just some extra words to explain the rest of that verb. So a simple example would be, the cat sat on the mat. The cat is the actor, sitting was the action, and the mat was the thing that the action was performed upon. Or you could say, I is the actor, am, to be, is the verb, hungry, the third part just completes the verb. And you'll have multiple versions of these perhaps in your longest sentences, so just break them apart and decide how you most sensibly can build them back together so that you don't confuse your reader. Watson and Crick hypothesized, actors, action, that the structure of DNA was a double helix. The findings proved the hypothesis to be true. Short sentences like these can be built back up into more complex paragraphs that are simpler than you originally wrote. Lastly, think about simplifying the action that's in your sentences so that they become more engaging and use fewer words. Look at the actions and see if you've got actions in there that aren't actually verbs. Demonstration is an action, but it's not a verb. You can't demonstration. Investigation is an action, but it's not a verb. You can't investigation. So instead of saying something like, this essay serves as a demonstration of, say, this essay demonstrates. Or instead of saying, the researchers carried out an investigation into, say, the researchers investigated. You use fewer words, it sounds more active, and it's more pleasant to read then for the reader. So, in conclusion, being concise will help you to be clear, it will help you to be brief with your word count, and it will help your reader understand what you're trying to say, because they don't need to remember so much that you introduced at the start and then spend a lot of time talking about digressions from before you finish at the end. If you want to talk to someone about how to improve your writing, then you can either drop me an email any time of the year or come along to one of the workshops, which you can find out about on our website.